This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to do an update for everybody out there on the mysterious fog that we continue to see across the face of the earth pretty much, because we've seen it in the United States and we continue to see it over in the UK. In fact, they're calling it a wall of fog across the UK, and still after a month, they are being blanketed in fog. And obviously this is not normal. I covered this a few times already and what I believe it is in regards to the smart dust. But there's more stories that have come out that I want to cover. Now, I'm not going to say that this is 100% factual, but I want to make people out there aware of some of the things that are going around that people are saying that this is. Now, there's people who have reportedly gone and got samples of this fog tested. Now, I don't know what laboratory you go to get this tested. I don't have experience in catching fog and being able to go and get it looked at by a laboratory, or I don't know scientists on speed dial that are going to look at this through a microscope, like I said, let alone know how to actually get this into a vial for them to look at. But nonetheless, people who you would consider conspiracy theorists have been trying to capture the fog and have been trying to get it tested. So supposedly they have gone and gotten this tested, and it is tested positive for what is called Serratia marcescens, which again is a bacteria, but is also considered a parasite. Now, according to science, they do claim that fog does contain bacteria. It also can contain microbes such as fungi. But this specific bacteria that they're claiming is in the fog can cause human beings to get urinary tract infections, bloodstream infections, pneumonia, ocular infections, respiratory tract infections, meningitis, wound infections, and other side effects can be caused from that specific bacteria. So what has happened since people are reporting that that's what's in the fog is people have dug in and have found out that the United States Navy back in the year 1950 ran something known as Operation Sea Spray. Operation Sea Spray was a biological warfare experiment conducted by the United States Navy in the year 1950 off the coast of San Francisco. The Navy used a ship to spray this specific bacteria, Serratia marcescens, into the air, aiming to assess how a large city like San Francisco would be affected by a bioweapon attack. It was estimated that the bacteria spread to all of San Francisco's 800,000 residents who inhaled millions of bacterial spores without knowing the experiment was taking place, which of course is par for the course because our government is running experiments on us every single day, most of which cannot be seen with the human eye. Hence the frequency warfare we are under in regards to 5G or the EMF frequencies coming out of things like our cell phones or smart meters that may be on your home or smart gas meters that may be on your home or any smart technology that may be inside of your home. So we are constantly under attack without us knowing about it. So the fog is continuing to be seen around the earth. And this is where people are starting to turn. They're starting to turn to this theory that they're getting sprayed with parasites and bacteria. Now, again, supposedly fog already contains bacteria and fungi in it. This is according, of course, to the science that's out there, which changes every single day. So I'm not saying one way or the other that this is or isn't in the fog. I just wanted to make people who follow my channel aware of it. But one thing that cannot be tested, that you will not hear about, is the smart dust. You will not hear any talks or reports about the smart dust unless it's in circles like the circles that we're in, where we actually are researching these things, know of the existence of these things, and know that they use bioweapons on us all the time. They're using bioweapons on us right now. So people have jumped onto this Operation Sea Spray theory, according to the reports that are out there, but I will continue to harp, no pun intended, on the smart dust theory. Now, I know that smart dust is not visible by the human eye, and I'm also well aware that they have been dumping smart dust on us for quite some time. In fact, many believe there's smart dust in the processed food that we buy. Of course, most of us already know that there are smart dust particles in the chemtrails and the aluminum and barium, among other chemicals that are dumped on us every single day. But keep in mind, there is no testing for smart dust. None of us would ever be able to grab onto the smart dust and go to a laboratory and have it examined for smart dust. So people still need to be aware that smart dust exists, that DARPA and NASA have been experimenting and mastering smart dust for decades now, and it is in fact live. And these silent weapons for quiet wars do exist. Now, if you're new to my channel and you're not familiar with silent weapons for quiet wars, if you're not familiar with how smart dust works and what's going on with these frequencies that they're using on us every single day, here are some clips that I put together for you so that you could become aware of it.
And they also talk about microdust as a weapon. They say that this micron-sized mechanized dust, which is distributed as an aerosol and inhaled into the lungs, the dust mechanically bores into the lung tissue and executes various pathological missions. They say it's a completely new type of warfare, and it is legal. It's legal. This is what they're going to do to all the humans on the face of this planet. It's all legal. And then they talk about how the use of frequencies will be used in warfare. And we know, for example, the smart meters that are being deployed around the globe, the replacement of our electric meters, which will also and does include the replacement of all of our gas meters and our water meters as well, and will be connected to our food supply when they collapse the currency and they issue energy allowances, and that will all be controlled through the metering system. But they talk about the use of low frequencies, microwave frequencies, and they mention in this NASA document the U.S. Army report. The U.S. Army report is on our website, smartmetersmurder.com. It's about a 20-page Army document that talks about the use of frequencies to target the enemy. We're the enemy. And they say 100% of the human population will be affected by these frequencies.
Every square inch of every city will be alive with intelligence. Every building will have a network of microcomputers built right into them. Smart dust. These all-in-one microcomputers will be small.
The size of a mote today is about the size of a grain of rice. That eventually it will be possible to make things that are on a sub-millimeter size scale.
Tiny specks of computer smart dust will form a vast invisible network to help manage the infrastructure of even the largest city.
And basically distribute it everywhere.
These tiny computers record information about their surroundings, information they can send to other computers or to you. Smart dust will also allow buildings and streets to recognize you and respond accordingly.
The city will know where you are.
Your workplace will know you. Smart dust at the entrance will boot up your computer, and smart dust embedded in the elevator doors will automatically ring your floor.
Smart dust and the new technology may soon make it possible to keep track of anything, anywhere, including you.
Smart dust originated with DARPA back in the 90s. This powder-sized chip is something called the Mu chip from Hitachi. It's the smallest commercially available RFID system in the world. You can literally scatter this stuff like dust or embed it into a sheet of paper. It doesn't require a battery. Flecks of computing power settling on your skin, ingested, monitoring you inside and out.
The nanoparticles are designed to go under the radar of the immune system, and so they are undetected in the body.
We have computing everywhere. We have connectivity everywhere. We have infrastructure that can compute those with new capabilities like AI.
If you have enough data and you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible.
Transhumanism is a growing movement that aims to use technology to modify our bodies, sometimes in radical ways to make them stronger, faster, and better.
So again, that's what's happening around us. Not to say that the fog does not have some type of bioweapon in it. Not to say that they aren't spraying parasites and bacteria on us every single day. But it's very clear, and should be very clear, that this fog is not normal. So when you see things that are not normal, when you see weather patterns that aren't normal, and you get past their layer of propaganda, which tells you that, oh, it's normal now because of climate change, we have to accept this. We have to accept that there's going to be fog every single day for the rest of our lives. Just like those stories out there told us we needed to accept the fact that the skies were going to be orange. Remember those stories I covered in the past where these orange skies were just appearing all over the earth? And they said, you got to accept it. It's the new normal. Or we need to accept that fires are just going to pop up all over the place and just assume that it's the climate, or that hurricanes are going to show up over and over and over again and go in all different types of directions that go against the jet stream. We're supposed to accept that stuff based on their explanation. And of course, we're not supposed to accept that. If you see things that are not normal, you should begin to question it. So clearly there's something going on with the fog. Now, could it be parasites and bacteria? Absolutely. Could it be a bioweapon? Absolutely. Now, when it comes to the smart dust, this is not visible to the human eye. So people out there have said things to me along the lines of, well, you wouldn't be able to see it. So why in the world would they even need to use fog to bathe people in smart dust? Well, it could be a different type of smart dust that they're testing. It could be such a heavy amount of smart dust that they're testing that it's creating a fog. It can be a combination of various things. It's hard to pinpoint what it is because the majority of normal civilians like us, how are we ever going to be able to get this tested? Are you working in a laboratory? Do you know how to capture this stuff and look under a microscope and figure out what it is? And if you can't see smart dust with the human eye, how are you actually going to be able to test these things? That's where the questions lie. But what really should be occurring is that people should not be accepting the narrative that this is the new normal based on the climate. There's clearly something going on here, whether it's something along the lines of Operation Sea Spray or it's something along the lines of smart dust. There are people who are reportedly getting sick all around the earth right now. Now, again, it is winter in America, at least in the UK. It's cold. People will get sick when the weather is cold and they're not properly warmed. If they go outside in a pair of shorts, they could expect to potentially get hypothermia or a cold or maybe even pneumonia. But the government has been using bioweapons on us for quite some time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is in fact a bioweapon, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's a combination of things going on. But what would surprise me the most is that people would actually accept the narrative that they're getting fed from the mainstream media, from the weather analysis that they're getting, from the scientists who are chiming in, giving you all sorts of new weather phenomena excuses. Anybody who believes that stuff is completely brain dead. Whether they got a lobotomy or not and don't realize it, I don't know. But to believe the narrative at this point, when there's so much disturbance going on every single day in our day-to-day lives, to believe that these things are all normal all of a sudden, that we're getting bothered with all sorts of weird weather patterns every single day. It's every week now. We hear about whether it's the fog or the fires. To think that that's normal is utter insanity. To think that it's normal to constantly have the government involved in your day-to-day life is complete insanity. They're clearly up to something, but all we can really do is speculate on it. But again, if you see these weather patterns and you think it's normal, then it's very likely that you're a sheeple. But you don't have to be a sheeple. All you got to do is start questioning what's going on around you, and suddenly you'll start breaking free from that sheeple stigma that you're living in. You don't want to be a sheeple, okay? You don't want to be somebody who believes what the government tells you. The government is not your friend. Republicans and Democrats are conspiring together against all of us using weather modification and other technologies that they don't want you to know actually exist. These are all things that are documented. These are things that presidents are on the record of talking about. These are documents you can find from the United States Navy. These are things you can find by looking at DARPA. All you have to do is research for yourself and see that while you've been thinking that the government has been just doing their job and protecting you, they've been building up technology that can absolutely wipe and rid the earth of all of us. From directed energy weapons to being able to create hurricanes with the snap of their finger, to being able to create massive earthquakes when and where they want to. They have the ability to do these things now. And it's about time people start snapping out of their sheeple mindset, start looking at things that aren't normal, like fog sitting over the UK for a month and a half now, or the fog just appearing and people holding up flashlights to it, or people seeing all sorts of weird things in the fog that make it look like snow, and start saying to yourself, yeah, this isn't normal. This is like something out of a horror movie. And guess what? We're living in a horror movie. The fog, the mist, the predictive programming with these types of things that we see over and over and over again. Always a movie connected to these weird phenomena around us, right? Like the destruction of Los Angeles to the fog and the mist, right? Every time these things are happening around us, even the Outbreak to Contagion and Outbreak the movie, right? Just always predictive programming and weird anomalies that we see that should make us go, yeah, you know what? They're up to something. Guess what? They are. They've waged war on humanity, and they're continuing to do it every single day. Silent weapons for quiet wars. I thank everyone for being here. Let me know what you think it is, again, in the comment section if you've heard this about the bacteria. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about Operation Sea Spray. It's nothing new under the sun. Obviously, they've been doing bioweapon warfare against us, biological warfare against us going back to even before the 1950s, and they continue to do it every single day. You just can't see a lot of this stuff with the human eye. If everybody was walking around with glasses that could show them the EMF frequencies, well, your eyes would light up if you had goggles that could see that, and you were walking around 5G towers or walking around your home, you'd see all these waves coming out of all these electronics, and you'd say to yourself, holy crap, that can't be healthy, right? But you can't see it with the human eye. So they, of course, go after you with things that you can't see yourself. So then they could just deem it, of course, a conspiracy, and people will just go about their day-to-day life thinking it's whatever they tell them it is. And usually they tell them it's just the boogeyman, and they go back to living their lives not realizing that their government is trying to kill them. I thank everyone again for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.